Bing 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 bidding bidding bing 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 bidding bidding bing 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 bidding bidding bing 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 bing. Hello. Welcome back to Fieros Reborn, the channel. Welcome to me. I am Fieros. Splendid to be here. Hello. Okay. Now, I'm doing another video in quick succession to the last one, because the last one freaked me out because I was just getting a bit too psychedelic for my own good, and I kind of didn't recognize myself in that one. Yeah, and I just felt like I wanted to come back into the home spot, you know, the homeboy area. I honestly can't wait until these fucking videos are done now. I really just want to go back to normal. Like, not telling Psych Ward stories. Not telling the America trip anymore. I just want to shove things up my nose and have it be fun and silly again. You know? Because this is tricky stuff, it's difficult stuff that I've been talking about. Like the sexual assault thing, and being slapped in the face and kicked in the balls and kicked out onto the streets, and on a number of occasions. It's just like, in a way, it feels like, I don't know how to describe it. It feels like it almost didn't happen, but it did obviously happen. And I still feel like there's a part of me that's trying to catch up to the present moment. Like there's most of me is here in the present moment. My mind is here in the present moment. My body is here in the present moment. But there's some emotional parts of me that are not, they have not caught up to being here right now. So it's like all this story stuff. It's like I can feel this little guy, this little buddy, past self. It's like trying to furiously run within the psyche to get back to here. He's trying to catch up to now so that I can be in my full feeling of here-ness, because it's like a lot of my emotions are all got stuck and bagged into baggage in the past, and so there's all this baggage of emotion that is not clear and clean and present. So it's like it's just this heaviness, and there's this little guy inside me running, trying to get through his story, like this little psychedelic little guy inside me who's running through his story in my psyche, trying to catch up to get to this point here and now, which is 2018. You know, and it's like through me telling the story, I'm catching that guy back up. So it's like freeing off. I'm helping that guy to move towards where I am now, so that part of me that was lost in the past, the part of me that had to get shut down, or got shut down by the mental health system, that got shut down by my parents, that got shut down by all the trauma that he went through, that part of me, that little psychedelic dude inside my psyche, that when he catches up to me here and now, it's like a boost of energy will come into me, because it's like it's like a part of my emotional system somehow got lost away, like lost in the past and got stuck in the past, and got shut down in the past, and now I'm trying to bring him, this kind of former self, really. It's like a former self, a bit like a past life, but in my present life. You know, I'm just trying to free up the energy from that past, so that I can catch up to myself. Those parts of me that got lost, I need to bring them back here to now, so that I can feel the energy of those parts of myself that have been shut off and closed off and denied and squashed and run over by life, basically traumatized and frazzled and burned out by life and contained. So yeah, so I can feel that. I feel that there's this part of me that's really desperate to catch up, to be here and now, and I feel like it's it's all inside me, obviously, but I feel like these parts of me that aren't quite present. There are parts of me that feel like they're asleep inside me, parts of me that feel like they're dead inside me, parts of me that feel like they're lost, or subdued, or quiet, or trapped, or contained, and they're all in. It's all inside my psyche, like my mental, emotional, physical system. Like, I feel that my belly has got really fat lately, and it's weird that the more that I speak about the stuff that's happened to me, the more it feels like my belly is shrinking down. So the belly is like an emotional reserve as well as a physical thing. So it's all tied in together. Yeah. So I suppose I'll try and carry on with the story as best I can. And I just wish I could just go back to being silly mode again. Like, that's one of the reasons why I want to break in total from these videos, is because, like, I feel like I'm losing myself again. I feel like I'm losing myself by going through this story. Like, I'm just getting bogged down in my own story, from the past, and it means that I'm not being normal now. I'm being, I don't know, I just feel numb or something. I don't feel like I'm being fun anymore. I felt like I was being fun before in videos and having fun, and I'm not having fun doing these story videos, and I feel like it's something I have to do, but I'm not enjoying it anymore. It's just like some part of the healing process that's actually quite hard, and it's not fun, and I'm not bouncy. And then I'm probably going to be bouncy in the next moment. But I just feel like this is not me. This is not. I don't like being this way. I don't like being dull and boring and negative and focused on the past. I'd rather be happy and silly and stupid and messing about and swearing and being angry even on camera than talk about all this crap. It's really like, don't know. I'll be happy when it's done, basically. And part of me is sick to death of spirituality. I would just say that. A part of me is sick to death of spirituality. I hate it. Part of me hates it. And I hate it as well. I hate Eckhart Tolle. I hate Deepak Chopra. I hate Gangaji. I hate Muji. I hate Jesus. I hate the Buddha. I hate all of this. I hate all of it. I hate healing. I hate regenerating my energies. I hate spirituality. I hate consciousness. I hate the word consciousness. I hate the word spirit. I hate the word self. I hate the word God. I hate the word being. I hate the word peace. I hate all of it. I hate all of it. And yet my life is consumed by it as well. My life is all wrapped up inside it. And I just want to, like, I don't know why and how have I got to this point where I've become consumed by this consciousness thing, and I just want to be back to being like an artist, a musician. I don't want to be an author anymore. I hate being an author, and I'm like getting urges inside me to finish off, to do even more writing, and I'm like, I hate this. I can't do it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. I hate this. I hate it, and I hate the fact that all my creative artwork and stuff has to become the spiritual thing, and I just feel like I want to draw bottles and things from life, and I haven't drawn things from life for ages, and I find it very difficult to draw things from life now. I just hate spirituality now. I just really I've saturated myself with it. I've like, everything I've done has been all about healing and spirituality and meditation and healing and telling your story and the inner child, and everything is all like very psychological and emotional and therapeutic and spiritual and psychic and everything. And I feel like I just want to fuck everything off. I want to go be a bus driver or be a clerk in Clark's I'll be a shoe shiner. I just want to like fuck everything off, and I don't know. I finally did this piece of artwork today that is like a representation of pretty much my highest ability in artwork at this time. I've never done anything like it before. It's a full page, it's a full A4 page of what I would call conscious drawing, which just means drawing. Which just means normal drawing. Yeah. But it's taken me so long to be able to get back to a point where I can actually control my pen to be able to draw normally again, which is like consciously controlling, deciding where I'm going to draw as I draw it. Whereas before, the way I was drawing was very emotional. Like everything, it was an expression of this raw, scatty, fractured emotional feeling. And I couldn't draw any other way for ages and ages and ages. Everything had this very like compulsive, fractured, painful, basically painful, pain-filled feeling to it. And this is the first piece of work that I've done in a long time. No, full stop. It's the first piece of work I have ever done that is a full page of A4 of consciously drawn work. Except for when I was a teenager, when I was also doing conscious work. Meaning I decide what I'm going to draw and then I draw it. And to contrast that with the way I've been drawing previously was like, I just had to draw based like a raw feeling, but I had to draw based on the raw feelings of my emotions. I just had to, it was a way of venting those feelings out into the world to get them out of my system so I could feel clear, right? And so some of the stuff is very cool looking and it's interesting and it's very full of feeling, but it's a painful feeling. And it's fucking drives me insane. It's sickening me. It's distressing me. I've had enough of it. Like, yeah. And I kind of I'm craving normality. I'm craving just a very bog standard, boring life. I just want to have a boring life. I want to be middle class again. I don't want to be a spiritual anything. I just want to be middle class. I just want to go to my shitty job. I want to go to the fucking gym. All right. I want to go on holidays. I just want to have a middle class shitty life that I have not been able to have for ages because I've been too mentally or emotionally or spiritually disturbed, traumatized, PTSD-ified, chronic fatigue-ified to do anything like that. I couldn't handle a job for years, and I just want to work in a coffee shop. Maybe not a coffee shop. I want to work in an office. I want to work in a very boring office and I want to do data entry. That was the best job I ever had until it got too hard towards the end. It was the best job I had ever had for 2 weeks, where I was in an office, I just sat there and I did very menial, boring tasks, but I found it really fun. It was like playing a computer game because I was just doing data stuff, like moving information from here to there. And it was like not taxing. I could get into a flow. I was very good at it. I got it done very quickly. And it was nice. Came in at 9, went home at 5, had a lunch for an hour. Tried to chat up some of the girls with not much success. One of the girls kept coming over and leaning her boobs over me with her stinky, hairy armpits. But she was pretty, big-boobed, young, smelly person. Smelly. Anyway, and I had a purple jumper. Woe is me. Woe is me. Where have the days gone? Wo ist die Jumperin? Yeah. Wo ist the purple jumperin? Yeah. I was young and fresh and I had a job and it was nice. Nice. You know, I feel like I can't go on dating sites and stuff really because all these dating sites are for people with jobs, really. there's not the unemployed dating site or the spiritual PTSD-ified dating site, is there? Mental health dating site. You know, my whole last 10 years has been consumed by the mental health system in one way or another. Either preparing myself for madness, or being a mad person, psychedelic little being, being captured and put in the psychiatric ward, coming out of the psychiatric ward and then talking about psychiatric stuff for years, having therapy, like interviews on the radio, doing talks with my dad about it to schools and NHS conferences, things like this. And then I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And I cut myself off from it. And then I found myself coming back to it naturally to do it in my own way, to discuss the stuff that happened in the past in my own way by writing a book about it, which took 3 years basically. And now I feel like that's still wanting to come through me again. And I had like a little freak out in the bath tonight. And I was like, I just can't do it anymore because I had this Psych Ward 5. So basically, I wrote 10 pucker refill pads worth of Psych Ward material. Minimum. I wrote more than that, but those are the ones that actually had titles of Psych Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And then the girl who I was going out with at the time, her and I broke up for reasons I'm not exactly sure. Still, closure has not yet come on that one. And because I'd been writing, the style that I was writing those books was a mixture of talking about the past and then talking about the present, and going into metaphorical psychedelic stuff as well, and little character discussions. It was kind of a zany smorgasbord style of writing. So a stream of consciousness, talking about the past, how that relates to the present, talking about the feelings that were involved and the meanings of things. So it was kind of deep and then light and then silly and then adventurous, and it was a whole load of different stuff all in one. Yeah, so it was a mad little thing. And as the books progressed along, the style developed subtly over that time. But what happened was I'd started talking about the girl who I was with in the books because it was part of my present moment reality as I was writing the books, right? So I was always discussing where I was and what I was doing and what had been going on lately. So it was kind of like a present moment journal that then was talking about the past and then was going off into these little character things, discussions, silly voices, zany situations and stuff, and then coming back to describe what was going on in the present, whether it be about describing the environment, what I was observing in people around me, or whether it was within my personal life and stuff like this, and then dipping back into the past. And it was kind of a montage-y type thing that was moving me slowly to the present. And that was really great, actually. It was going really, really well. And I'd
done some really, really good writing in there. Psych Wards 4 and 5 were my favourite refill pads worth of stuff. They were great. There was some really powerful stuff in there. The character of Fieros in the books died in there all of a sudden, and then he gets he gets whatever you call it, re-alived. Re-alived. What is that? Reborn, I suppose. Reborn, but it wasn't really reborn. It was like re-alived. Damn it, resuscitated, that kind of thing. He gets electric shock to wake up, damn you, wake up, and he wakes up, and it's a really powerful moment. There's like a cliffhanger at the end of number 4. I think it's number 4. And then, or number 5, there's a cliffhanger on the end of one of them where he's basically dead and he's flatlined, and then they restart him on the next one. It's a really powerful moment. And there's also some really powerful chunks of writing that I did about talking about how our society, in the way that our lives and our minds and our emotions tend to be, is that we're very caught up and we're very thick. Our lives are very densely populated with all the things and people and activities and stuff that we have to do. It's like our lives are very in our faces, all around us at all times. And I did this really good bit of writing about wanting to expand that and to give you more space and to give you the ability to see the woods for all the trees and to be able to take a step back. And it was really good that the way I wrote it in a very dense and thick style, and then I expanded the way that I was writing, and I even expanded the way it was written on the page. And what I'm trying to say is, basically, I wrote all this stuff, loads and loads of stuff, and then I got rid of it because of the fact that there was a lot of stuff in there about my relationship at the time that I didn't want to publish, because I just didn't want her to be reading stuff about herself. I felt ashamed and embarrassed and gutted, and I didn't want to be talking about her and have all this like record of all the shit and the good stuff, and it was just too painful, and I just like, that's it. I self-destructed, basically. I self-destructed my writings, and it's something I've done many times before, where I just say, fuck it, that's it, I've had enough, it's stressing me out too much, there's too much, it's overwhelming me, get rid of it, I don't want to think about the project anymore, take it away from me, or I'll destroy it because it's asking too much of me, this is too big for me to handle, I can't do it. I used to feel like my artworks were weighing me down. If I had too many of them, they just weigh me down, because they all represent a little piece of emotional weight. Well, they used to anyway. Then more recently, I decided to keep hold of stuff because I felt like I needed to be able to withstand this feeling of having lots of energy inside me, whether it's painful or otherwise. I needed to be able to hold on to the things that I do. I needed to be able to create stuff and to have it stay and to not destroy it and to keep it there, to hold it there, to say that, no, I've done this, it is good, I believe in myself, I believe in what I've done, and also I can handle it. If I feel like I can't, I will go into that feeling of wanting to destroy it or wanting to run away, and I will tolerate that feeling inside me. I will tolerate the feeling of wanting to destroy it. I will tolerate that, and I will accept that that's how I feel, but I'm not going to do it because I want to make something of this artwork, and I want to make something of these writings and the songs and stuff. I ripped up the lyrics to like all my songs at one point because I felt like I wanted to trust that I would know them anyway, and they would come back to me if it was the right time. And actually, funnily enough, some of the songs that I wrote ages ago have started to come back to me, which is a very odd thing, but it proves that what I felt at the time was correct, that with enough trust in myself that the songs would re-emerge of their own accord, based on memory rather than based on writing them down. Because I had this real difficulty for a while of not being able to remember my lyrics, and I kind of felt like if I just destroy all the lyric records, then I will have to it will force me to remember them instead, rather than rely on all these lyrical records. I felt like all the lyrical records was tying me to the past as well, and it was just there was too many of them, and it was like overwhelming. Again, like I kind of sometimes I create so much, so many different things, that I feel like I create this monster of creativity, and it just, I don't know what the hell to do with it. I can't handle it. I can't manage things. I can't see, I've got so many items of stuff that when I try and make sense of it or look through it or do something with it, I'm like, there's just too many things here. It's overwhelming. I can't, I can't deal with it. Yeah. All right. So
yeah, so as I'm saying, I got rid of this load of stuff, and part of me is like, I really miss that. And that's what was calling to me earlier on today, which is saying, like, I was in the bath and I was just thinking of Psych Wards 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I can't do it. This is too big. It's too big. I don't want to do this anymore. I've been doing this for ages. This is driving me insane. I'm not an author. I don't want to be an author. And then the other part was like, well, you've got to get it finished. Obviously, you're not finished with this project yet. You are not finished, because if it's still coming back and you do not have that psychological resolution to it, then it is not finished. Because I had really big ideas for this project to begin with. I wanted it to be basically a graphic novel initially. I found that was too hard. It was too big a task. And the more I worked on it, the more I realized just how big a task it was. I had to try and get everything in a coherent order. If I'm going to, basically, one of the goals of this whole project, the Psych Ward project itself, is to get my story, my personal history, for a period between 2004 to 2014 into some sensible, chronological, logical, coherent narrative story. Because one of the features of that time was it's very, very chaotic. And what has happened over the course of time in my memory is my brain is completely scrambled as to what happened at what time and when. Which is disconcerting, because it's like parts of me just went AWOL. Like, parts of me have just been completely shut off and closed down and forgotten and trampled on and squished and lost and forgotten. I think I've said forgotten before, but forgotten, yeah. And there's something to be said about getting a sense of wholeness and a sense of personal coherency in my own self now from going through the timeline of my past and being able to figure out the through line from that point then, and tracing myself through that as an experiencer, tracing myself as a consciousness, as a being, to know that I went through all these things and in this particular order because of these reasons, in this way, and to know that I don't care what Eckhart Tolle says about the story and you shouldn't be your story and all that, disidentified from your story, bollocks. Fine, I am disidentified from it. But there's something emotional that needs to happen around that in order for me to feel in myself, in my body, in my heart area, really, my chest and my stomach and my throat and in my head and in my body and my energy overall, that something needs to happen with all that material from the past. It needs to be organized. I need to understand it. I need to own it. I need to accept it. I need to acknowledge it. I need to bring it here and have it be part of me rather than it be split off from me, basically. So that is a long task, and I didn't realize how fucking long it was. But yeah, and I did all this work. I did all this really good work, and then I just destroyed it all. And I feel like, again, something of me has been lost by doing that, because some of the energy that I put into that work was really like my energy, as in like a representation of my true self. So I poured all this emotional energy into this work, and I cried a lot, and I felt like I touched some deep meanings about life in there, and then I destroyed it all. And I guess I feel gutted still that I didn't keep it. And I think that's where the urge is coming to complete this again. So to go through, I've done up to level 4, Psych Ward 4, but to go through 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, to have it as definitive, this is absolutely done. You know, and there is no way back at all. There is nothing else to do on it. So I initially thought of it as being a graphic novel, and then I thought of it as being a series of like illustrated comic book style comic books, basically comic books, yeah. And then I found that that was incredibly difficult because it was not just like drawing a comic book of characters that have no real personal meaning. They're just somewhat abstract, you know. They're archetypal characters or whatever. They aren't me, yeah, and they're nothing to do with me. They might be thinly disguised versions of me or whatever. You know how cartoonists will often put themselves in the cartoon, but and people in their lives put them in the cartoon, but they change their appearance and change their name and change their circumstances and stuff, but the core is very similar or the same. It was not going to be like that because it's like a factual retelling of my own traumatic adventure, psychedelic experience into spirituality, psychosis, the mental health system, America, all, and deviant, weird sexual behaviors, like wanking off in a sewer, which was just weird. Not very fun, actually. It's kind of gross. I don't think I wanked off in the actual sewer. Anyway, yeah, it's just a whole weird adventure. He wanked off with some leaves at one point. Yeah, exactly. It was weird. So this whole adventure there in a cartoon form was, I feel like, I mean, I drew some of that stuff as well. I drew some of the things that I saw in the Psych Ward, for example, of the people there, and I drew characterizations of all these people. Yeah, most of these people. And I drew them in the Psych Ward books that I then destroyed. So that's lost as well. So it's like, God, it's... I will... I'm hoping that eventually a sort of clarity is going to emerge and a sense of power is going to emerge as well, because it's so hard to render this story in any form, written or drawn or spoken even. It's just so hard. But I think because of the nature of the whole story as being traumatic and long in the past as well, it's just very difficult to do it. Yet it feels like I need to do it. You know, I feel like it's a big part of me that is stuck and gammed up based on the things that happened in the past. It's all stuck. Yeah, and the more I work on it, actually, over time, it does get more free. But I feel like it's just stuck. It's very stuck energy. So what am I trying to say? I don't know. Creative process. Am I going to do a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? Ugh. I feel like it would be easier to do it now than it was before because I've done so much pre-work already. I've already written these books before. It's not going to turn out the same though. It'll probably turn out better this time than it was because I have a even higher perspective now, if that makes sense. I have a more centered perspective, a more conscious, even more conscious perspective than before, and a more settled perspective than before. But that's a shame because before it was very fresh and very raw, and I was writing really from that place of being in that experience, and it was very, very passionate and very, very connected and committed. And now I feel like when I'm writing, I just feel like, it's like sludge. Ugh. It's just all this sludge around it, like, it's so heavy, it's so old. Ugh. Yeah. Still, I'm stuck.
in the Fieros story time part about being at Al's house. I don't know why I feel this is so significant, but it's just still more to say about this. So there was this girl. Catch up to this now. Catch up to this. So we're in Al's apartment, in his university apartment. Okay, in the financial district of New York, Manhattan, which is down the bottom of it. And I couldn't stay there during the day. I had to leave during the day, which was annoying, and I was frustrated by that, and I was like, come on, man, I don't have anywhere to go. And he was like, yeah, but you have to go, because I can't have you staying here during the day. I just can't. It's some security issue with the apartments. I can't have people who aren't university students in my apartment while I'm not there. And I was like, God, okay, you really don't care about my welfare at all, do you? Fine, I'll go out on the street in the cold, and walk around and busk by standing on my guitar case and singing stupid stuff to people and not know where to go and what to do and be cold. And then there was this other girl, I mentioned this in the previous video, there was this other girl who was staying with him as well. Briefly. She seemed to be staying there for less time than I was. I was there first, and then she came along. Fine. And there was some weird thing about her that, like, Al and I don't know what to say about this other girl. There was something about donuts. We thought that she was selfish because she hadn't offered us donuts. I can't remember what it was. Basically, we thought that she was being selfish to us by not doing something or other. It may or may not have been to do with donuts. May have been to do with some other food item. And it turned out that she had actually, like, left us each a donut. I don't know. But basically, she was just not expressive of her kindness immediately. She was holding it back so that she could leave us a surprise when she left. So we weren't sure whether we liked her to begin with or not, and then when she left, we did like her. Fine. Al played the trumpet. Al had a ponytail. Al was he was studying music production, and he had to do little recordings for his projects at uni. One of them was to do, was it Helter Skelter? He had to do like a remake, a cover version of a Beatles song, and I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was Hey Jude. It was a song where they had a little egg shaker in it. And Al was saying to me that he couldn't figure out why his cover version didn't sound quite right. And he was like listening to the differences between his one and the one that they had on the recording from the Beatles. And he had a sudden realization, like a click. Oh, I can hear this egg shaker thing in the background there, the Beatles one. And then he put it in on his track, and it solved the problem. It was like, that's what it was. But that was an interesting moment when he shared that with me, because I like things like that, where, you know, you kind of, there's a mystery, a problem to be solved, and then with the right attitude and effort, you solve the mystery. And you get the click and you go, aha, it's egg shaker. Or like, why can't I get a job? And then eventually go, aha, because I don't want one. Well, why don't I change that then? Well, I don't know. Yeah, I like those little moments where you suddenly uncover a little stone. Like, why do I always behave this way? And then you figure it out, whether it's in therapy or in personal journal work, or a dream comes to you and you go, it's because of this, and then that frees off the problem. Mm. Yeah. So that was Al. I can't remember how it ended. It was just a couch surfing thing, so I was only there for a few days. But I remember saying bye and we being on Facebook together. As in, connected on Facebook for a while afterwards, but that drifted away eventually, as things do. This is like 10 years ago, man. Yeah, more than 10 years, like 11 years or so ago. Yeah. So, hmm. Yep, okay, 11 years or so ago today. That's a long time ago. Okay, and then I went to Louisiana. I don't know exactly what the ordering of this all is again. And I got to Mrs Dees' house, stayed with her and her two other flatmates, housemates, sorry, and ended up getting kicked out of there because I made an inappropriate comment, and then she got violent, and I decided it was time for me to leave. She decided it was time for me to leave as well. Oh, there's some other stuff in there actually that I haven't mentioned. Well, I'm not going to mention it. I don't want to. Okay. Then I spent time under the bridge with the hobo, which was cold yet warm in the daytime. What else? I decided not to stay in America, and I decided to eventually come home. I got back to England somehow. Hooray! Hooray! I'm gonna need a drink after this. Fucking hell. Yeah, I'm gonna need a drink after this. I mean, I got back to America. I got back to England. I got back to England eventually. I must have got back to England, and I think that I was pretty rough looking. I mean, I had a beard and fairly long hair, not as long as this. No, it was probably just down to there, similar to my old style that I had on the video. On the videos before, sorry. Man, I'm not finishing sentences correctly. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I feel like I'm nutter. Ugh. Okay, so I got back to England eventually from America. I'm trying to remember that process of getting on the... I remember being on the plane. I remember being on the plane home because there was this girl who I sat next to on the plane. Woohoo! And she was pretty cute. She was pretty cute. She looked kind of Iranian, and maybe she was Iranian actually, I can't remember. But she was very, very pretty, and she had nice boobies. And I sat there on the plane, luckily sat next to a gorgeous girl on the plane back, which was amazing. I was very, very pleased with that. And then I was watching Aladdin on the flight computer, flight navigation system. I was watching Aladdin on the flight DVD player thing, whatever you call it. The screen on the on the plane. I was watching Aladdin on the plane, on the back of the chair screen thing that you get there. That was one of the films that was available. I forgot to mention the DVD player in the hostel. Oh, okay. Right, so there was a story about this DVD player that I bought when I was staying in Jazz on Lennox in the hostel. I told you in a previous video that I got a DVD player and I watched The Matrix on it, right? Now, so I got that, and it cost me like, I don't know, $70 or something, or $40 or $50,
or $45, $50, $60, $50, $60, some amount of dollars between $40 and $70, right? And this was at a time when I still obviously had the money to be able to buy that. Otherwise, how else would I have bought it? So I bought this DVD player, and I was a bit silly and very over trusting in the fact that I just decided to put it in the kitchen on the floor under the bottom shelf of where all the food was kept in the kitchen. Because so in the hostel we had these like racks, these sort of shelves for people to put dry food on, as in not for the fridge, but just food that you could keep outside, keep in the open. Like tins and mushrooms, dry food, yeah. And then you'd have the fridge for everyone to put stuff in as well, in the kitchen area, which also had a table, and it also had a stove, and it had a sink, and it had an oven. And for some reason I thought that it would be safe to just put the DVD player on the bottom floor bit, underneath the bottom shelf of the dry rack. And I thought, oh yeah, the universe will bring it back to me. Or, oh, it'll be a gift for the universe, and it will come back to me, and it will come back to me. I hate this stupid universe stuff. There's some part in these books where it says that, oh, giving is the way to receive. Bollocks, is it? Giving is not the way to receive. Giving is the way to get rid of everything and never have anything. That's what it is. That's what I understand by it. Giving does not open up a space to let more things in. No, it just gets rid of what you have. That's all it does. There's no spiritual law of giving, I'm afraid. It does not work like that. Okay? You say, oh yes, give people money and money will come back to you. No, it doesn't work like that. Give people money and money will... No, it doesn't work like that. Give people stuff and it will come back to you. No, it doesn't work like that, okay? The stupid spiritual law of giving and abundance. No, it doesn't work like that, I'm afraid. No. Give people stuff, they will take it and run away with it. And it doesn't come back from anywhere else. You don't get something else from someone else. It doesn't happen, okay? I have given away loads and loads and loads of things, and I have never been given anything in return. I have never been given anything back. No one's ever given me the sorts of things that I've randomly given other people. So there. My faith in the universe was misplaced. Maybe some of these spiritual gurus should be told off. They should be taken to task on these things like, bollocks, does it work? Give and you shall receive. No! Give and you shall lose the things that you have. If you're okay with that, fine. If you want to get rid of them, fine. We don't expect to go giving shit away and expect someone else to randomly start giving you shit. It does not happen like that. I've done enough of it to know. Okay, yeah, so I left this DVD player on the floor, on the bottom floor bit, underneath the bottom shelf, expecting it to come back to me somehow, or to at least stay there. And I was just way too over-trusting, basically. Because it didn't, and when I came back it had been nicked. Oh God. And I went, oh Lord, what am I doing? So all this stuff that you read in these books, either I was completely applying it totally wrong, or it's faulty in the first place. I think it's probably a bit of both, to be honest. So, try giving your items away and they will come back to you. Trust in the universe and you will be rewarded. Bollocks will you be.
Don't trust the universe. The universe is a pile of arse. Yeah, that's all I learned. All this trusting in the universe stuff. Bollocks to trusting in the universe. All that does is make you ridiculously naive, and it makes you a sucker for being scammed and abused by people. Don't trust the universe. Trust your instincts, yourself, about your own intuition about the universe. Don't trust the universe implicitly, because the universe will fuck you over. That's what I've learned. Yeah. Yeah. So that was that DVD player. Okay, so then I was on the plane home, not directly, but these are links. This is the link. So later on, a lot later on in that story, I was on the plane home, sat next to a beautiful Iranian girl who smelled nice as well. I probably creeped her the hell out. But we had a bit of a conversation, bit of a chat. Not very much, but it was a long flight, and yeah. And it was nice to be sat next to a beautiful woman on the plane, to be honest. And I was watching Aladdin for a part of it, and felt like I got really deep into Aladdin as to the motivations of the different people in Aladdin, and I came to the conclusion that everybody in Aladdin wants to be free. Well, I'm talking about the Disney version, right? Everyone in Aladdin, their primary motivation is freedom. So Aladdin himself wants to be free from poverty, yeah, and free from his social position as being a street rat. So he wants to escape into the princedom. He wants to become a prince so he can be free of his limitations as a pauper, street rat, poverty-stricken person. Princess Jasmine wants to be free of the control of her father. She wants to be free to make her own decisions. She wants to be free to pick her own suitor. She wants to be free of the law that is imposed upon her that she must marry a prince. She wants to be free to choose who she wants to be with. And she also wants to be free of castle life or palace life as well, in general. She wants to be free to have her own life and to have adventures and to be free of being a princess, basically. The genie obviously wants to be free from the restrictions of living inside a lamp and free from having to obey a master all the time. He wants to be free to choose his own life, free to make his own decisions, free to use his powers however he wants to use them, free to not live in a lamp anymore, physically free. He wants to be free of the lamp. He wants to escape that confined, limiting situation of being in a lamp, right? And Jafar wants to be free of the Sultan's nonsense. But Jafar's route to freedom is through power. So Jafar wants to get freedom through ultimate power. So if you notice that the way that Jafar is trying to get free of his pains and limitations and sufferings is through conquering and through power. So he is trying to control the Sultan so that he gets more power. But why does he want that power? Because he wants to be free of the limitations, because he feels like if he's on top of everything, that he is free to do what he wants to do and free to control other people as he wants to do. But he has the freedom to move reality as he wants it to be. And he has the freedom from the oppression of other people, because he is then on top and he's oppressing people, but he feels free in that capacity. He believes it will be a freeing situation to be in power. And so as he goes through his cycle, he kind of gets increasing levels of power, doesn't he? He wishes to become become the Sultan to begin with, which is one level of power, and then he realizes that he's not free with that level of power, and that he wants to become then a all powerful, like a wizard thing, sorcerer. And then he realizes that that power has a limitation to it as well, because the genie, like he's subservient to the genie's power, because the genie's power granted Jafar's sorcery wish. So the genie's power is stronger than the sorcerer's. So Jafar cannot be ultimately free because there's someone who is bigger and better and more powerful than him. So his situation, his definition of himself is limited. In that sense, his feeling of himself has a limitation, and he wants to have the freedom, the feeling of expansive total power, of which is an unlimited free feeling. And then so he wishes, he's tricked by Aladdin and the genie and whatnot to wish himself to be a genie because he thinks that he will then have unlimited cosmic power, which it's his real reason for wanting that is because he wants to be free of the feeling of being powerless and contained and restricted by his life, and he feels small and at the butt end of everything, and he wants to gain power to transcend those difficulties, basically, and to be on top instead of on bottom, because he feels like he's an intelligent, cunning person, and he is in the wrong situation in life, and he wants to be on top rather than on bottom. So he becomes a genie briefly, and then realizes that his quest for power has just not brought him the freedom that he wanted to, because he was trying to get freedom using the means of power, and it didn't work, and it effectively trapped him even more, because now he's become the genie in the lamp, confined, limited, squashed, entrapped. So I came to all those conclusions while I was on the plane going back from America to England. And then subsequently I thought about it afterwards, and I thought, man, I must have been tripping balls, because that's way deep. But that's the thing, like, all this stuff, I came up with all kinds of, like, insightful stuff when I was in this so-called psychosis. Yeah? And all this insight that I had was then devalued later on by people telling me I was in psychosis. So all the positive value that this supposedly mentally ill state, all the positive value that had for me was then stripped away and invalidated. Because, and then, like, to look back at Aladdin and to look through that analysis of it, it's not the only analysis, it might not even be a valid analysis, but it feels kind of good. But that kind of analysis of stuff and understanding of how things are working came to me quite often when I was in that place. I just had this very deep, kind of piercing understanding of things, and seeing that everyone in that situation was seeking some kind of liberation. They all wanted to be free of some kind of circumstance that was troubling to them. And then later on, I subsequently devalued even that analysis of Aladdin to say, oh, it must have been wrong because I was psychotic during that time, because everything that happened during that time got put under the banner of this mental illness that I'd been given as a title by the mental health services and my parents, mainly my dad, though. I must say my mum didn't label me as much as my dad did. Yeah, so anything good and insightful and creative that came out of that time was really just I was told it was wrong, and it was a sign of my madness, it was a symptom, it was invalid, it was all whack, basically. I don't think anyone really had the time and the ability and the attention to look at some of the things I was doing and value them and, like, see where I was coming from. They just looked at it like, oh, it's a big crazy mess. But that's, if you looked at any genius's works to begin with, it would probably look like a big crazy mess. You know, I'm not saying I was a genius, but maybe some of the stuff in there had creative value, had insightful value, and it was all just put under the banner of our psychotic ramblings or psychotic um, delusions and stuff. And that's like, sucks. So yeah, got on the plane, watched Aladdin, sat next to an Iranian beautiful woman, spoke to her a little bit. Didn't go anywhere with her, as in like I would have liked to do various things with her, but nothing. No, didn't even exchange numbers, nothing. I wasn't really in that place at that time anyway. And it's weird. You meet someone on a plane. Okay. So we didn't really have enough in common. Anyway, watched Aladdin, got off the plane, told my dad if he ever sections me again, he'll never see me again, apparently. I can remember being in the car on the way home, though. And I developed an American accent by that point. Yeah. And I used the word asshole a lot. Because asshole was used a lot in America. And I was just saying it naturally. Said it a lot. Asshole. If anyone was being slightly rude, then you could call them an asshole. And it's weird because coming back to England after having been in America where people were really open and accepting and quite kind and quite friendly and genuine and honest with their emotions, and coming back to England with my parents who were like, wouldn't have known their feelings if they came in dancing around waving a flag saying these are my feelings. They wouldn't have known them. You know? So my mum was better than my dad, to be fair. She seems to know her feelings a little bit more than my dad. Did. I mean, you know, things are changing, things have changed a lot since then, but my dad was just a bit of a bastard, really. An asshole. He was an asshole. It was very mental, as in everything was very mental and logical. And scientific. So he just did not have the language of emotion at all. It was very horrible, really, to talk to him. Everything was a logical argument and all very mind based and just like talking to a brick wall sometimes. You tell him how you feel and he'd argue with you that you didn't feel that way. And no one else could, you could not tell him anything that you observe in him because he would be in denial. No, you're wrong. No, it isn't. No, that's not it. No, you're wrong. No. It's just like a blanket denial. So he's unwilling to even take feedback or criticism or observation or insight from anyone else. And then he would blame me for feeding back how I perceive him. So fuck him, basically, from that period of time in my life. In that period of time in my life, the guy was an utter dick. He was a fucking asshole. And I wanted to kill him. Literally, I wanted to kill him. Because he was a fucking brute. He was abusive, manipulative cunt. He was an asshole. My dad was an absolute fucking asshole for about 2 years. Yeah, he was a fucking asshole. He was a terrorist, and he tyrannized me, and he was a fucking asshole. He abused me mentally and emotionally, and he labelled me, and he judged me, and he coerced me, and he intimidated me, and he forced me to take medication, and he was arguing with me constantly, and he was always telling me I was wrong and always telling me I was ill, and he was just a fucking dick.
I'm going to have a drink. Good night.